Alrighty guys, what is going on? It is JT Bricks here, back for another LEGO Star Wars video here today. And as the title indicates, we're going to be looking at some very ugly LEGO sets in my opinion. And you might be asking, what constitutes an ugly LEGO set for you? And for me it's simple. This really just more has to do with the builds and what the builds look like and how I feel about those rather than the minifigures. So some of these sets might have some really nice minifigures, but ultimately what I dislike about the sets and what I think is ugly about them is going to be the builds. So this video is going to be really build focused, so let's get into it, shall we? Not to mention, LEGO makes usually really good LEGO sets, and some of the models they make can be absolutely outstanding, so I want to give LEGO credit, but unfortunately, these are ugly, and unfortunately, that also means some of the OG and original LEGO sets, the older ones, are going to be on today's video, and there's going to be a lot of them because some of the old models were pretty bad, and, are bad, and that's the way it is. The newer models really outclass them, and although these might have been really nice back in the day, they didn't age well. Starting out here, we have the original Sith Infiltrator, and this thing's just bad. I mean, the back isn't terrible, but that front, which is that really rectangle and just like straight and just blocky front, is really bad looking. And this does come with Darth Maul, so that's a plus, but the Infiltrator itself is very, very bad looking. This is ugly. Also, keep in mind that none of these are technically really in any specific order. I'm just listing out what I think is ugly, and here we have the Vulture Droid, the original one, and the model itself isn't really terrible. I think it's fine, actually, but it's just the fact that they decided to make it brown for whatever reason. Gray LEGO pieces existed at the time, and for, whatever reason, they decided to make it brown when it's not really brown at all, I guess. I mean, I guess it's a little bit brown in the movies, but this just kind of looks weird, and I don't like it, and it's ugly. Moving beyond that, we have Anakin's pod race, and really all the pod racers, at least the original ones, were pretty ugly, and the actual pod racer itself isn't terrible. The design's nice, the colors are neat, but it's just that they had to have those tan pieces in the middle of every pod racer, keeping them together, that make it look bad, and it just looks weird. It really is out of place, and it looks bad, and I know I guess they had to have that to keep it structured, but it's just really bad looking, and it just makes it a lot uglier than it really should have been, and it sucks because that's the way it was at the time, but this one's ugly. Next up, we have the original A-Wing, which isn't terrible in my opinion, honestly. This could be worse, but it's just really blocky. There's a bunch of studs showing, and, it's just not that good. The cannons also look kind of weird. Just kind of a funky build, honestly. It's funny that this was the brand new stuff at the time, and, they just don't look good at all compared to today's A-Wings. And, that's the way it was, and that's the way it is, but unfortunately, this one's pretty ugly. We have the original Slave One, which is kind of nostalgic to me for some reason, but it's pretty ugly. I'm not going to lie, and it really makes me kind of smile about this one. It's just the cannons at the bottom. They just look really weird. They're like one little bar, round bar, I guess you could say, or cylinder, I guess you could say, and they just look kind of funky, and it's kind of weird. It's kind of cute almost, and it's not good looking though, and the new Slave Ones that they make these days are really, really nice, so I got to give credit for LEGO for improving, but this model, it is very, very ugly. Next up, we have the original Millennium Falcon, which, just looking at it from, just a quick glance, probably doesn't look bad. But when you kind of look at it more, I just think it looks kind of worse and worse because, for me, they have, the, flat part, right? The kind of the circle area around the ship that's flat and that has, stickers or prints or whatever on it. Then there's the part that's at the front and kind of towards the edges, which has studs. So it kind of creates a weird look where it's half of the ship is studded while the other half is kind of smooth and flat, obviously, with the bricks. And, I guess it doesn't look awful, but it's just kind of awkward and weird looking, and it's Lego, choose a side. Are you going to go for an all studded look or an all smooth look? And here they have half studs showing and half not, and it just looks kind of ugly, kind of weird, and I just don't really like it at all. And I know this was the first Millennium Falcon, but that just kind of combination is just not good looking at all. I really don't like this one. Next up, we have one of the LEGO Star Wars Technic sets, and, this is another one of those weird things that LEGO did back in the day that just never really caught on with anyone and didn't succeed, and it was just kind of a one-time thing, kind of like the buildable figures back then for people back then, it was this Technic type of stuff, and here we have R2-D2, and this one, in my opinion, was the worst. I could have fit all of them. Some of them actually don't look terrible. The Stormtrooper's pretty bad, C-3PO is pretty bad. The Droideka I don't think is too bad, and the droids, besides R2-D2 and C-3PO, I don't think look too bad, but this one in particular, R2-D2, it just does not look anything like him at all, and I know it's Technic, I know it's kind of cool, it's unique, it was a good idea, I guess, something to try, but this one's just really hideous and almost kind of scary, and it does not look like anything from Star Wars that resembles an astromech droid, and it is very, very ugly. Alright, I'm sorry for my older fans that did not like that segment, but I know some of those sets might mean a lot to some people, but, to me, not as much, and, I feel like people have to admit, those are not as good as the newer models today, and they were ugly, but there are some newer models too that I think are pretty hideous looking, and some that really could use some work, so let's get into some of the newer models that I actually don't really like. Starting out, we have the Halo here, which I actually own this set myself, and at the time I didn't really think it was that bad, but looking back at it, it's just really awkward looking. It kind of resembles the Razor Crest, and honestly, because of the Razor Crest existence, to me this set just looks worse because the Razor Crest is kind of thick, armored up, looks very nice, and has all the panels and stuff. This one just is kind of skinny, it almost looks kind of like a vulture. I don't know, it's hard to explain. It's just really skinny and awkward looking, and I just don't like the way this thing looks. It's like a Razor Crest except in green and yellow, but worse. The build's worse, and it just looks so frail and kind of pathetic, honestly. And the actual ship has like a bay where you can hold like the bounty hunters or whatever. I don't think they really did this that well, and I just don't like the way this thing looks. It's pretty ugly. And continuing with that more frail mindset, we have the Hyena Bomber, which I actually also own this set, and it's a cool idea. I think the Hyena Bomber is a very unique set, and it's a set that I think we should get remade actually in the future, sometime soon. But this build just not really that good. It's just kind of frail, awkward looking, and weak and skinny at some areas, and the center, I guess, area is kind of big and long while the wings are kind of small and skinny, and it just creates a really awkward and weird look. And I just don't think LEGO executed this one as well as they could have. After that, we have one of LEGO's original licenses here from the Freemaker Adventures. I think this is the Star Scavenger, and really my big problem with this set is not necessarily the model is terrible, but it's just the actual ship itself. The ship is just really kind of weird looking. It looks like it should be longer or bigger, but it's kind of short and stubby, and the back is like really fat and big, while the front is kind of long, and I just don't like the way this thing looks, honestly, and it's one of LEGO's original licenses, and nobody really likes those sets too much, and we haven't seen them in a while, so not a big fan of this one at all. Next up, we have one that, in my opinion, is not a bad model, but the actual just like set choice is not very good. We have the like First Order Scout Walker or whatever, and the model is accurate, but it's just the vehicle is just not very good looking, and the actual design is just not good. And, not only that, but it's a vehicle that we don't really see too much in The Last Jedi, so it kind of sucks that one of The Last Jedi sets had to be this one. But LEGO made this one. I'm not sure what happened between Disney or Star Wars and LEGO, so there's a miscommunication because, we rarely see this vehicle, and it's not really that important to the movie. And LEGO made a set on it, and usually LEGO makes sets for more important vehicles or scenes of a movie, right? And this one the model is just not very good, and it's just kind of ugly. And, that's not really LEGO's fault necessarily. The actual design of the vehicle, in my opinion, is kind of ugly and not really cool at all. So, unfortunately, this one's ugly. Unfortunately, the same can be said here for the First Order AT-ST. LEGO pretty much perfectly captures this scene as the First Order AT-ST is controlled by BB-8, and unfortunately the AT-ST is just ugly. It just doesn't have a head; it's just legs, and it's really weird and kind of skinny looking, and it doesn't look good. It just does not. That's the way it is. And I kind of put blame on this for LEGO because yes, Star Wars made this a big scene, and LEGO had to put it into a set. But LEGO could have at least maybe put like in removable head for the AT-ST, and the First Order AT-ST looks kind of cool. And if they put that on there, that something that was removable, that would have been kind of neat actually, because then you could get a 2-in-1 kind of with the AT-ST and the actual scene of the movie, and that would have been a really cool play feature or something like that, or just something they could have done. And they didn't do that, and I guess it is what it is. I wouldn't make too much sense if they did that, but this thing is very ugly, and it sucks that it is, but it is. Next up, we have one that, to me, also isn't necessarily LEGO's fault as well, but we have the Imperial Convex transport, and the actual transport itself doesn't look bad, but it's just there's only 2 cars. You have the front and one of the middle cars, I guess, and there's no caboose or anything like that, no other cars, and because there's only 2 train cars, the train just is incomplete, and it looks kind of weird. I mean, it's a neat set, the minifigures are neat or whatever, and it's kind of a cool scene from that movie, but, since it is only the front and 1 car of the train, it just looked kind of weird, really stubby, kind of awkward, and just kind of funny, and, because it only comes like this, and there's not like a big full train set, it's just kind of ugly looking, and I guess you can get multiple of these if you wanted to make the full train, but, LEGO either could have made a really big set like this or just not really done it at all, and I know, they can't necessarily make a huge full train set for something like Solo and this, kind of small sequence of the movie, but I don't know, it's just not that good looking in my opinion. Next up, we have the Sandcrawler here, the most recent one, I believe, and really my problem with this one is this one's kind of on the fringe. I don't really think it's terrible. The build itself, it's a solid build, but it's just small. It's way too small. It's way too stubby. It looks kind of funny, kind of short, kind of cute and stubby almost. And the UCS Sandcrawler just kind of outclasses this one. And that was obviously made, I think, a few years before this one. And it might not necessarily be this set's fault because it's obviously not a UCS set, so it's not going to be that big as the UCS one and as nice as that one. But because it's just so small and really just short and stubby, it just looked kind of weird, and I don't like it. And whenever I think of the Sandcrawler, I think of it as a really just kind of big tank and something that's really menacing. And this thing just does not give that vibe off at all. Continuing that trend, I have a 4+ set here, and I know the 4+ sets aren't really meant to be that good looking, but, they still are ugly, whether you like it or not. And the X-Wing, it's ugly, along with the turret there. They're ugly. And then we have the A-Wing as well here, and it's also pretty ugly. The guns look really weird. They're just really small, and, the microfighters, in my opinion, even look better, so they could have done something better than this, so not a big fan of these. Next up, we have a buildable figure here, and really I feel like I could have included all of them, or at least all the ones that showed the characters' faces, not the ones with helmets like Darth Vader or Commander Cody, because those don't look terrible. But this one, like here, portraying Han Solo, just doesn't look like him at all from Solo or like Harrison Ford, and because of that, it just does not look good, and it's not an accurate representation of what it's supposed to be. So in my opinion, it's ugly. If Han Solo did look like this, it would have been fine, but since he does not look like this at all, and that face is really weird looking, I can't like this one at all. Continuing on, funnily enough, we actually have a LEGO Star Wars 2021 set here, and this is the Resistance 4 Plus X-Wing. Like the similar X-Wing, or the last one I guess you could say, it's just 4 Plus, so it's not meant to be good, and because it's not meant to look good or be a great model, it just looks ugly, and it's not very good, and that's the way it is. Next up, we have a 2020 set, and this is the AAT, and I really wanted to like this set, I really did, but the more and more I look at it, the worse it gets for me, and it's just the cannon. The cannon's way out of proportion, it's way too big, and it makes the whole build look kind of funky and weird looking and awkward, and I don't like it, and, I saw it on a YouTube video that pointed it out to me, and ever since that video pointed it out to me, it just looks worse every time, and it sucks. I really like this set, I really want to, but the old AAT, in my opinion, was a better model than this one, and this one just is just not good looking at all, and it kind of sucks. It kind of ruins the set for me, and I wish I liked it a lot, because it was a great set choice, I guess, an idea, but unfortunately, that cannon is just not good looking, and it kind of ruins the set for me. Overall, though, there are a lot of ugly models and sets, some from a long time ago, some from recently, as of 2021 even. In my opinion, there is only one set that is the worst of the worst, and let's take a look at it. To me, that set had to be the original AT-ST. The actual head of this thing doesn't look terrible, but it is very small, but the legs are just really bad. And it's kind of funny. It's like funny how bad it is. And, I don't really hate any of these sets, and I don't hate this one, but this one is just very ugly and does the AT-ST dirty. And, I know LEGO tried their best, but this one's bad. In the end, though, guys, I'm sorry I have some of these for some of your favorite sets, but, it is what it is. It's my opinion. You guys obviously have your own opinion, and that leads me to the question, what do you guys think is the most ugly LEGO Star Wars set of all time? If you guys have them, let me know in the comments, and, I'd like to see what you guys have to say. Anyways, guys, that's pretty much going to wrap up today's video. Again, kind of a fun video, but also kind of a sad video, because some of these sets might have had a lot of potential, like the AAT and some other ones, but they ended up being ugly, and that's the way it is. But anyways, guys, let me know what you guys think about this video in the comments. Make sure to like and subscribe and support me for more videos, and I will see you all next time on JT Bricks.